Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Mike, your host of Thursday Morning Live. And if I can get my tongue to work right, we'll be okay today. Hey, I am looking forward to this morning, that's for sure. But just want to say hello to everybody. If you are joining us here this morning, please make sure you subscribe to YouTube. Make sure that you find us out on Facebook, that you link in with us. We're here every Thursday morning. Bring a guest on, have a short coffee conversation just like you would with somebody at Starbucks or one of the coffee shops, and just, get to know somebody. So it's about relationships and building relationships and seeing what we can learn something new and give value to somebody else. So I want to introduce my guest this morning, Ruben Kanya. Ruben is a TEDx speaker. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about using content and repurposing content. He's a media company, and we're going to dig right in and have some fun this morning. So let me bring Ruben up. Hey, good morning, buddy.
Hey, Mike, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. How's it going? Why don't you do this, Ruben? Tell people where you are calling from. Tell them a little bit about who you are, and let's start there this morning.
Sure. So I'm calling from New York. I'm in Manhattan here, so it's a little on the gloomy side. You can typically find me between New York, Boston, or Atlanta. Atlanta is where I do my real estate. And I do the miracle morning. I got my workout in this morning. I'm energized. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. So I'm really excited to be here and kind of, share with the audience and your group here, some interesting conversations we can get into.
Great. Definitely glad you're here. Let me ask you a question. So you said you got your workout in, you got your morning in. I see you got your coffee in hand, which is good.
Tea. I don't drink coffee. I got my tea in.
I drink plenty of coffee. I'd probably drink enough for both of us anyhow. So hey,
there you go.
So let's talk about this. What are your daily disciplines? Your morning daily disciplines?
So it's funny because it's been a little bit out of whack lately, which is okay. And when I say that is because I use I don't know if you guys you might be familiar with the book Atomic Habits. I use the user journal where I track how many things I need to do per week. I used to try to hit everything per day, but then typically that sets you up for failure if things come up. So then I have more of a weekly thing. This is what I got to do this week. And this is, for example, working out, I got to at least hit it 4 to 5 times a week. So if Monday gets jammed up, something comes up, it gives me that ability to build that momentum without telling my subconscious mind that, oh, it's okay that I missed today. No, you got to make it up because you got until Sunday to pack everything in. So typically it's waking up early. I know it's not for everybody because I think sometimes you often hear that. I happen to be an early bird. That's my gift. My gift is outworking people. I'm definitely not the brightest guy in the room, but being able to wake up at like 4:30 a.m., 5, it's quiet, giving me that peace of mind to get onto things that I need to get to without the phone going off. And then after that, I give myself a break where I do get into the gym and get the blood flow going. And then I get back to my activities so that I'm really fired up for meetings like this. So that's more or less how I plan the day. And then I always have some time where I am reading in the morning, which sometimes it falls by the wayside, but even if it's a page or two, I always make sure that I get some kind of inspiration towards what I'm working towards, and I use my books as like consultations based on where I am in my life.
Nice. That's awesome. Hey, I'm a 4 o'clock guy too, right? So Sunday, just a quick story, but Sunday I spoke at a event here in Chicago. Big shout out for Windy City RIA here in the city. Nice. That they meet live every the last Sunday of every month. But I spoke, and on Monday morning early, like 4:15, I'm getting a text from somebody who says, "You're up early," because I must have. I think I tweeted something really when I got up, and somebody says, "Hey, you're up early." I said, "Oh yeah, I'm always up at 4. What do you do at this time?" And I said, "Here's the 3 things I do. I spend time in scripture. I am grateful, and I work out." And you know what? You start your day right, your day tends to go right. So
yeah. I forgot to mention, Mike, this is important too in my routine. Is I was looking the other day. I've been journaling, not every day. Again, I do it periodically, whether it's every life event or every kind of milestone every week or so, at least 2 to 3 times a month at the very least. I've been doing that since 2010. I was looking back, I'm like, golly, I got like a decade's worth of great content, speaking of which might be a great segue, but it kind of goes into what you're feeling, what you're going through, what are your obstacles, what are you looking forward to. And I find that to be also very therapeutic.
Yeah, it is. And it, but not only for you, but somebody else who hears it, because, our message sometimes can really help somebody else. And,
Absolutely.
and I know you've got a story and you've got a message. I think you're a TEDx speaker or have spoke on a stage. Yep. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Let's let people know a little bit more about you and what that's all about.
Yeah. So, I mean, my TEDx talk came directly from the heart. And for those of you who are interested in how to get into TEDx talks, actually might be a thing where, definitely it is a kind of a rigorous interview process that you got to go through. You can go to mine. It was my alma mater, where because you guys know there's TED and then there's TEDx, and TEDx are organized by the TED organization, but they have to go through very, very strict guidelines of you can't go over 18 minutes. You got to do this. You can't promote your business, right? So for me, I went through a process actually to be a TEDx speaker, and I didn't get it the first year. And which is very in brand with, I don't know if you guys can see my sign back here, but it's experiment, fail, learn, repeat. And so I kind of took note of, okay, what I need to do. And they didn't give feedback per se, but I know that the second time around I came with a very well crafted, I guess, a talk that really came from the root of what I believe. My talk was how to get more than 24 hours in a day, which is a true embodiment of what I believe, because the only way to do that is my well-known kind of theme in the conversation is to stop asking how can I and start asking who, right? Who can help me get to that next level? Mike has a lot of experience in real estate and it's syndication and writing a book. Okay, great. Let me tap into your network, right? Let me tap into your experience, your connections. And so that was the premise of the talk. And I think it really resonated with how I build my teams today and how I actually operate within 24 hours. People say, how are you doing so many things? I'm not doing all those things. I'm creating teams and systems that allow me to do all those things. And that's how I live my day.
What's interesting though, is in the beginning, you probably are doing all those things. So if you're a new entrepreneur, you're starting a new business, you're just getting on that road, you have to do all those things. And here's what I like about what you said. And you said this out of the gate this morning was, nobody's going to outwork me. And that's kind of how I feel too sometimes, is nobody's going to outwork me. I am going to, 4 o'clock in the morning, twice this week, it's been midnight before I hit the wall. So, it just, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. So,
yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Like the way, everything. So it's interesting that what you say, because now, that I've grown my agency, I've done everything that has been operated as a standard operating procedure. Like I've gone through it. Yes, we might have enhanced it, but I've gone through the process. Very similar to what I do in real estate. What we do for others is we do for ourselves, right? We do short-term rentals, and as operators, we've gone through it. Like we've gone through messaging guests to now automating some things. So I think that's important, Mike, what you're saying is because you need to have the ability to first go through the process to understand, so that you don't get burned when you do outsource it, or that you have some level of competence and understanding of how things work before you delegate them. Because sometimes we kind of skip that step. And, we're not saying that you need to know how to do everything, but it's good to have some level of awareness of how things work before you can really outsource them or delegate them, or even bring in a partner. So the expectations are met.
For sure. So talk about your agency a little bit. You've mentioned it a couple times. Let's tell people what you do and where you're at and how you can help them.
Yeah, it's interesting because, we're all doing it. I just don't think people are look at it as an opportunity. Like even right now, this live that we're on, what we do at Invested Talent is, again, our niche is specifically serving real estate investors and real estate, particularly real estate syndicators, because what we do is we help them create more quality content with the content that they already have by repurposing it, right? And so what does that mean? That means like a meetup like this, whether it's virtual, a podcast, which is typically our main source of content. All these are touch points. Once you first identify who your avatar is, as in when I say avatar, I mean who is the person that I'm trying to serve. Most people make the mistake of trying to serve the masses and everybody, when in fact they should be thinking, I need to serve a guy like Mike. I need to serve a guy like Joe. And what does Mike do? Well, Mike's a guy who understands his core values are working hard. His core values are waking up in the morning early. I've already gathered this data as you're speaking to me. I'm understanding. I see that you have a book back there. Okay, great. You're an avatar that I am going to serve. And when I'm serving and when I'm creating content, when I'm recording an episode, when I'm doing a meetup, I'm speaking to Mike. That's who I'm speaking to. Now, it doesn't mean that there might be someone who's not like Mike that becomes part of your audience, but there's a difference between having an audience and an avatar. An audience can join a concert, a watch a video, but a true avatar is who you're serving and the type of person that you're serving. And with our agency, what we do is we say, hey, we're always having these meaningful conversations that can add a lot of value to people. So why don't you take those, extract more out of these meaningful conversations, because you're already having them, right? Instead of speaking in a vacuum, make sure that conversation, if this conversation adds value right now to someone, it should be repurposed to continue to add value, like to your email list, to your phone, the list goes on and on and on. And this has been going on for quite some time, Mike. This is what, if you see some events, they'll repurpose content, commercials, they repurpose content. This goes on all around us. We just need to have the insight to be able to do it.
Yeah. So that's an interesting conversation too in itself, because that's something that I've been talking with my team about lately is, Ruben, in the last year and a half, I've got 100 podcast episodes on 2 shows. Plus I've been on 100. The goal this year is to be on another 200 platforms to tell my story, right? Bringing that hope and inspiration for people. But, repurpose the information. How do we reuse the information? Punch it out, push it out. I met with Dave Meltzer. Do you know who Dave is? And we met, and he was on my show and I was on his show. And one of the questions I said is, hey, what would you do differently today if you were starting all over to grow your business to where it's at? He said, I'd post more. He says, you take your information, you repost it, you repurpose it, you use it over and over again. So second part to that story, yesterday I'm on a Zoom call with somebody. We meet for the first time and he starts talking about Meltzer. I go, I know Meltzer. He goes, oh, him and Meltzer, Dave are really good friends. I said, okay, that's great. Then he says, he starts talking about the same thing, about how to use the content and repurpose it. So the message is really loud, right? And if you're listening to any thought leaders out there today, you're seeing those messages over and over again. So,
but it has to be meaningful, Mike, because to your point is the next question that someone listening might say, or someone watching might say, okay, but what am I posting? You need to start. This is why you always start with the avatar, because there's typically on these conversations frequently asked questions. And there's one thing that will get people's attention. If you can solve them a problem, save them time, or save them money, or create more money, or save them money, right? Those are desires, or even if it's not money, it's how can you help me get to my desired end goal faster or in a shorter amount of period of time? So if the information that you're giving is valuable information to help them get to their end goal and desires or overcome an obstacle, then those meaningful conversations that you're having on one podcast to another is going to echo and always be evergreen content that will solve a problem or a desire that specific avatar, which there are many in the world, is currently facing. And that is how you actually create or foster a relationship, is by helping someone if with their desire or obstacle that they're dealing with, get to that next chapter that they're trying to get to. It's very important because it's not just any content that matters. Valuable content matters.
Right. So how do you, is there a way that you look at that and distinguish it? Because my idea of valuable content could be different than yours. So
yeah,
how do you distinguish the difference?
Great question. So it's not, see, this is the thing that we usually do. The mistake we make is like, I think this content is valuable. When you say you're already operating from the wrong angle. You need to first, this is the biggest problem people have is defining who their avatar is. Because if you ask someone, who do you serve? Oh, we serve everyone. Okay, great. That's going to be a problem because you can't serve everybody, right? Then it's like, oh, well, we serve real estate people. Okay, great. So this is just an example. We serve real estate. Okay, great. Real estate who? Fix and flippers, syndicators, a realtor, an investor, a mortgage broker. Like there's layers to this. And the more defined you are, which people struggle with. And the reason I understand why people struggle with, because they're like, well, then that means I'm closing the doors of my business or I'm closing the door of my service. Well, but you're missing the point that when you do refine who you're serving, then it's very easy to come up with valuable content because you know exactly what their pain point is because you've defined your avatar. So it's not about what I think content is. It's not even of like what they think will be a good idea. It's what are they struggling with and what is the desire they're trying to get to. If you can help someone, right, overcome that or shorten the amount of time that it gets to get to their desire, that's where the value is. That's why we buy products. That's why we buy coaching. That's why we buy into masterminds, because we have a problem that we're trying to solve. Every purchase has a problem behind it. If you think about it, if you're buying food, you're hungry, right? If you're buying a gym membership, you're trying to either detox, get exercise, you're looking for something. And what we need to do is kind of lift the hood and understand what that deep embedded desire or obstacle is behind our avatar. And once we've nailed that, the rest is very easy because it'll be very clear based on the questions that they are currently asking. You can serve them with the quality of answers that they're looking for.
So ask me the top 3 questions that you would ask a client to see what their avatar is. Let's just see if I have the answers, because I don't know if I do. Sometimes I always wonder, and does your avatar change?
So our avatar doesn't change, but what happens is you can serve more people. That's a broader scope than your avatar. So the one question I would ask is to the avatar, I first need to define who the avatar is. And if I don't have enough data, then what I do is I do welcome the door and I say, hey, what problem are you facing? Hey, this is the problem that I'm facing. Like ask them, what is the problem? What is your desire? Where are you trying to get to? Oh, and we can have these conversations over coffee. Like, hey, Mike, what's going on in your life, man? What are your goals for this year? What are your goals? Okay, great. My goals are this. Okay, great. What's stopping you from getting to those goals right now? This. Oh, interesting. Okay, great. Well, tell me more about that problem. Oh, why is that a problem for you? What have you tried before? So right now I'm gathering all this data. Okay, okay, so you tried that before and didn't work. Okay, great. So it sounds like you may be looking for this solution. Would that serve you? I don't know if that would work for me, Ruben, because honestly, I've tried that before. Okay, interesting. So it sounds like you might need this then, right? Ruben, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Interesting. Now, when you send me a referral of a person who's, when you talk to a friend or a peer, you're going to say, hey, I had this problem and this person or this agency or this company solved it. That is where referral comes from, because you're solving a specific problem. When you call a plumber when your pipe bursts, right? You don't, because you know who to call. And I think that's the mistake we're making, because then when they come in, you might say, hey, by the way, when the plumber's in your home, you might ask him, and by the way, I know that you just fixed my pipe, but do you know anyone who does roofing? Or better, as a matter of fact, we do have a sister company that does roofing, right? Like you have to start by opening up the door first, and then you can identify, what their other problems are. But the problem is, I think people want to serve all people's problems, or and they're not asking those questions that they say, hey, we can do everything, and therefore I don't come top of mind. right? Because you blend in like everybody, right? And I think that's a big thing. So those are the questions you would ask. Just to recap, I think you asked to just, what are their obstacles? What are their desires? What are they trying to get to? And what have you tried before that is stopping you from getting to those desires or overcoming those obstacles? I think those key questions right there are already such a great foundation that the sad part is if you ask sometimes most businesses, I was just talking on the phone with someone who's been in business for 20 years and I asked them very similar, who do you serve? Kind of everybody. I'm like, really? Like, man. I mean, later on, I think you broaden the scope. That's why you can say that. And that's probably why, because he's been in business for 20 years. But before then, in the foundation, you should probably be very, very clear on what problem is that you're solving and for who the avatar is.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%. Well spoken, that's for sure. And I think people tend to forget that. Here's what I like about what you said there, and not specifically anything you said really, but it was the action. And your action was to go back and ask 2 or 3 more qualifying questions. So a lot of times I think when we're talking to somebody, we have a tendency to ask that surface question and leave it at that. But you asked the surface question, then you said, oh, tell me more about that. And then tell me more about that again. And so you dig down. It's kind of like when you're interviewing somebody for a job and you check their referrals, go 2 or 3 levels down with their references and really see what those people are like. Hey, Ruben.
Yeah, and typically we protect ourselves by giving surface level answers. So when someone is consulting, Mike, I couldn't agree more that you have to deep, and sometimes it's an emotional, deeper level or psychological block or even limiting beliefs. So if we can go down the psychology route, which is a whole nother conversation, but I think the point of this conversation is made today for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Ruben, it has been a great morning. My coffee's cold and time for a warm up. So, hey, tell people how they get a hold of you, how they reach out to you, and what a meaningful experience that would be for them.
Absolutely. So again, I'm an experimenter. I'm an active learner myself. So if you want to tap into some of the experiments that I'm doing to learn, to see what I'm actively engaged in, you can go to rubenkanya.com. If you're interested in repurposing content, there'll be a discovery call link that you can click there. But otherwise, you'll see some of my activities, some of my TEDx talk, some that we recently were featured in Forbes around recycling and repurposing content. So you can get a read there and see how you can implement those tactics in your business. And I would love to connect with you. It's a pleasure. And again, that's Ruben, Ruben, Kanya, Kanya, not to be confused with Kanye. I always get that. rubenkanya.com. All right.
Hey, I really loved when I was on your show and I could see the sign behind you that said the experiment. And I felt like I was in that experiment room. We were digging in and just talking through things. It was pretty cool. So I appreciate you, Ruben. I appreciate your time this morning being here. I know my listeners have too. You want to hang out with me backstage for a minute?
Absolutely. Thanks again, Mike.
Yeah, you bet. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thursday morning live. We're here every week, 8:30 a.m. Always just, quick conversation, 20 minutes, just bringing some, relevant data to the market to, help you in your business, help you maybe with leadership or being an entrepreneur. What's the next step? What do you need to do? So whatever those thoughts are that'll help you grow, help you take your business to the next level. And you know that one thing I always tell people is your business isn't going to grow till you grow personally. So we all have to be stretched, held accountable, grow and push ourselves forward. So I just encourage you to have somebody in your life that does that, whether it's a coach or just a mentor, but somebody who will stretch your mind and hold you accountable to that. Hey, today's show is brought to you by Urban REI Property Management. If you are anywhere but in the region of Chicago and you're looking for property management, for a property management solution to help your property operate better, more efficiently, and create revenue, give them a call. Everybody, thanks for being here. If you want to reach out to me in any way, you can reach me at mycoreintentions.com. And I look forward to seeing you all soon.